Andy Katz is on the line. He's laughing at us because he's like, I'm the tier god. You guys don't know anything about tiers. Why are they doing tiers without me? He's getting fired up.
Andy, please help us with our tiers.
Andy, what?
Good afternoon, everyone.
You're throwing it back at us. Andy, we're just going through the tiers. We're trying to figure out like what legacies are on the line here with coaches, with programs. And we were just talking to like Syracuse and Villanova. Like Jim Boeheim, he's done everything there is to do. If he doesn't win a national title, is anybody going to view Jim Boeheim differently? I feel that way about Jay Wright. Like the only thing he can really do is collect trophies at this point. He already has the full trust of everybody. You disagree?
Yeah, no, I mean, his legacy is cemented. It was interesting what you just said before, as I was in the waiting room waiting for you guys to invite me in. I actually hadn't thought about Buddy Boeheim leaving early, but he could. You're right. Mm-hmm. I'm convinced that once Buddy Boeheim's career is over, which would be next year if he stays, that Jim Boeheim will retire. So if he did go to the draft, would that push it by a year? Maybe. It could. But I'll tell you this. I've got them advancing to the Elite Eight against Sister Jean, and they certainly could win that. Mm-hmm. So as crazy as it is, this is the third time they've been a double-digit seed since 2016, so 16, 18, and 21 that they're at the Sweet 16 as a double-digit seed. But as crazy it is that one of the last teams in, they could get to the Final Four.
The draw is definitely favorable.
Yeah, I see a path.
Andy, how are you doing? How are you holding up? How is life with the at the big boy desk going?
You've been great, Andy.
Thank you for coming back and visiting us.
Yeah,
are they treating you well? We notice you do a selfie every day before you start, where you got the big smile, and we noticed on day one, Ernie
was smiling with you.
Ernie was smiling with you. By day 4, Ernie was not paying a lick of attention to your selfie. So, what's the vibe like on the desk, Andy?
It's tremendous. There is a reason they're the top, sports show the last 30 years. They've been great. They welcome me in as a family member, if you will, especially, within COVID. There are obviously a lot of protocols on the campus there, and yet we've still been able to distance, even offset, spend time together and with masks, and they've been tremendous. I cannot ask for anything better. I feel like I fit right in. And, there's a lot of barbs back and forth, but you got to take them and dish them out within reason. And, it could not have gone better. And can't wait for Saturday to Tuesday.
And Andy, we have to ask, do you feel the pressure of America looking at you and saying, Andy, please explain college basketball to these people? Because it is a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? It feels like every game they come back and they're like, Andy, what happened? And it's your job to explain it.
No. I will tell you this. And look, I don't pretend to know every NBA, player or coach. Yep. In fact, the Oklahoma City Thunder were staying in my hotel last week, and I completely blanked on who the head coach of the Thunder is. I challenged the two of you to name them.
Brad Stevens.
And what's that?
Brad Stevens.
Can you name the Oklahoma City Thunder coach?
No, I can't.
We were just talking about the other day. Titus was
I
like,
don't know the
coach
Pacers
of the Pacers? I was like, Nate Borkin. He's like, who?
Yeah.
So I don't pretend to know that. But I will say this. They do a phenomenal job of watching and analyzing like that. Yep. Of really picking apart for teams that they had not seen, obviously, throughout the course of the season. And Ernie's the best. He is the best host there is. He's an unbelievable human being, a great father. And so, I have nothing but, wonderful things to say about all of them.
It's been great, Andy. It's been great to see.
So we were bearing the lead a little bit, Andy. Would you? I was told the reason you wanted to come on the show this week was to apologize.
Wait! You invited me. What do you mean?
No. That's not what I was told. I was told by Louise, our producer, that Andy wanted to come on and apologize for all the blatant disrespect of the Pac-12. That Tate and I were trying to stick up for the Pac-12 all season. I remember looking at your power rankings. I said, "This is ridiculous. You have no Pac-12 teams in these tiers." There's
Where's
zero.
the Pac-12 tier?
I said, why is it when Colorado loses to Cal, it means Colorado sucks, but when Ohio State loses to Michigan State, it means the bottom of the Big Ten is very strong. Apologize, I guess. I don't have a question. I have a statement. Apologize. Apologize to all the Pac-12 listeners for the disrespect over the.
Okay, look,
Okay.
I'm not alone in undervaluing the Pac-12 this year. Although, by the way, I did MC and host their media day in the fall. And so actually that quote from Wayne Tinkle about how they won't finish 12th, that was when we were doing our preview in the fall. But I also would say, and I'm not trying to defend the Big Ten because it's been, atrocious. But matchups do matter. There's no question that matchups matter. For example, look at Colorado. You brought up Colorado. The difference in the way Colorado played against Georgetown and Florida State is as much of who they played. 16 threes against Georgetown, 11 in the first half, because they have completely different personnel than Florida State does in the way they defend, their length, athleticism. They couldn't get a shot off against Florida State. UCLA did not play well the last 4 games. I know I heard it from Bruins fans when I kind of questioned if they should even be in. Well, I wasn't alone. They were in the first 4 because they really only had 1 win in the last 6 weeks over a tournament team, and that was Oregon State. But Jaime Jaquez and Johnny Juzang have found their offense, and they are playing great. They beat a very inconsistent Michigan State team. They got BYU, and they beat them at their own game. And then, look, it matters. They played Abilene Christian versus Texas. That matters. Villanova fans, they're all over me right now because I had Villanova toward the bottom of the power rankings. Well, they beat Winthrop in North Texas. So now they're going up against Baylor. You talk about big boy table. That's big boy team right there. Okay? That matters. You have to judge them. So it's not just rankings matchups, but you also have to judge them who they played and how they played. And I think it matters.
So do you
look, Oregon State, hold on. Oregon State and Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
Oral Roberts had to beat Ohio State and Florida. Oregon State had to beat Tennessee and Oklahoma State. And I know you only can do what you got in front of you, but that should matter of who they had to beat.
Yeah, I agree. So all these conversations about the conferences, though, that the Big Ten is a huge disappointment. The Big 12 is a huge disappointment. Baylor's the only Big 12 team left, but the Pac-12 is dominating. Do you think that we're all wasting our oxygen trying to frame it that way? Are you a subscriber to conferences don't win NCAA tournament games, teams do, and teams win titles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because are we suddenly going to say the WCC is the best conference in America because Gonzaga wins?
Yeah.
No. I still believe that the Big Ten was the best conference in the regular season. They have failed miserably in the postseason. You cannot explain Ohio State and Purdue. They played incredibly poor. Iowa tried to run with Oregon, but that's what Iowa does, and they couldn't keep up. And they got, wasted. Bad matchup for Maryland against Alabama. But the thing with Maryland and Wisconsin, while they got blown out in their second round games, I do think we have to at least say, Wisconsin torched Tate's Carolina team in the first round.
What happened, Andy?
Threes. And Maryland completely locked up UConn, which was sort of a buzz favorite for a lot of people. So they should get credit for that. And then at the end of the day, the most consistent team overall, Michigan, is still standing. Oh, and by the way, Rutgers, they're never going to live that down.
I know.
They should have won that game.
That was tough. That was tough to watch.
They should have won that game.
That was tough.
Brendan Haywood, who was on the call, I thought did a great job, is that Brendan Haywood basically said that, they were in prevent offense.
Yeah.
Like a football team almost.
Right.
And that's what they were doing those last couple of minutes against Houston.
And Andy, just looking at the Sweet 16 and some of the storylines going into it, I mean, we got this dead period where we're waiting till games until Saturday. What are the stories that are going on the ground in Indianapolis? Like, are you keeping up with that? Are we trying to find out storylines in between this, or are we just trying to kind of wait and see? I know we just had Zagorowski come on. And he said, it's very boring, as they're waiting around to get games going again.
Yeah, I think when all things are said and done, but this was done for television. Let's not kid ourselves here. I think they probably should have started up. What's today? What's today? Wednesday? I can't remember. They easily could have started up tomorrow or Friday.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they thought my gut is, and I don't know the answer to this. Obviously, they wanted Saturday, Sunday, for television, and then we'll see how the Monday, Tuesday works out. The one thing I do think that we're going to like on the back end that now feels kind of like we're wasting time is, for the first time ever, Saturday and Sunday, every game's in its own window.
Yep, that is cool.
And that, I think, we are going to love this weekend, because it's hard when the games are competing against each other. And if you have everything on a Saturday and Sunday, with one after another, I think people are going to really like that. I could see that happening. It won't feel as long if next year we are in a normal situation and the teams go home. I think that'll be a big difference, and they're allowed to be on campus and things are exciting, and then they come back. Yes, it's probably boring right now. Yesterday, they all went to the zoo and they took the day off because everyone was tired. So they're probably going to practice today, practice tomorrow, practice Friday. Teams play Sunday. It'll really feel long, and Creighton's one of them. I think that it for the players, for everyone else that's covering it, this is going to be kind of a long 3 days. But I really believe after Sunday night, we're going to feel like, wow, that was pretty cool that we saw every game by itself.
Well, because of the weird schedule, because of it all taking place in one location, because VCU has to bow out involuntarily, and just the circumstances of this tournament, Andy, what Tate and I are seeing more and more of is that people are calling it a Mickey Mouse tournament. They're saying that this tournament shouldn't count.
Who are these people?
I don't know. We're hearing it.
I don't know
we're
who's saying it.
Who's saying it? And
no, but here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Mark. And I know people get mad if I say Mark instead of Titus.
That's all right. My mom does it. She loves it. She loves when people call me by my name.
All right.
Yeah.
So I know you tweeted it out. Maybe I took it out of context. But here's the thing about the asterisk.
Who tweeted it,
how we
Andy?
should count it.
I was hacked.
All right. Okay. At the end of the day, no one would have known who Max Asmus was. Okay. He has had, and Kevin O'Banner from Oral Roberts, he's had the moments of his life. I mean, tremendous. He'll be able to build off this forever.
Yep.
Number one. Number two, even though they lost, Tanner Grove, okay? That looks like a lumberjack. Goes for 35 against Kansas. That wouldn't be seen. The fact that, we're getting Loyola beating Illinois.
Krutwig.
Historic upset in that sense. Cameron Krutwig. Buddy Boeheim. North Texas obviously winning. I could go on. Obviously, like the greatness of Gonzaga and Baylor. The way Alabama's playing.
Bus.
Yeah, I mean, these things would not have happened. And I do believe, to Marcus's point about boring and all this and everything they've gone through, that we shouldn't asterisk, because this was hard.
Yes.
Really hard. People had to opt out, decide to opt out. They got to get through these next 2 weeks, and then they got their freedom. But this was not easy. So I would not go through and talk to anyone that had to quarantine, whether they had it or were contact traced. And, Iona went 50 days without a game and got a March Madness moment. So, I think it's totally worth it. Can I use your platform for one other thing?
Go ahead.
Yeah, please, Andy.
I don't want to get in the weeds of what went wrong with the way they handled things at the women's tournament. But I do want to get this out because I wanted to say this, and it's hard in different platforms. So I'm going to use you for a moment.
Please.
Love it, Andy. Please.
I really wish that the women would have gone in April this particular year. And I say that because they made the decision late, okay, not until early February, to go to Texas. You're trying to put on a tournament with 64 teams. And I'm not making an excuse. I'm just telling you a fact, in like 6 weeks. if they had waited till April, a couple things would have happened. One, you get your own television windows. And I know you got to get ESPN on board there, but still, you get your own thing. You're not competing against CBS and TBS and some of the brand names of the men's side, ratings-wise and attention-wise. So that's number one. Get your, have it all to yourselves. Have the full army, if you will, of people that work within the NCAA and the membership to your tournament. Right now, by nature of the two tournaments going on at the same time, which I know normally happens, but they really are competing now, more so than ever in terms of actual days. The staffs are probably 75-25. I may be wrong on my percentages, but if you add it after the men, you could have your entire staff working it. And also, if it were later, that might have had programs like Duke, okay, that might have said, you know what, we'll get through this pause period because they had, they obviously had a difficult December and decided to opt out, women. Maybe they would have said, you know what, we got time.
Yeah.
Let's get through this. We're going to have our full tournament, full participation in April. And I think they missed the boat on that. And maybe it was broached and I don't know it, but I think this would have been the year to separate the two and have attention on men, then all the attention on the women.
Right, because I know Tate and I have we watch women's basketball.
I was watching yesterday.
Yeah,
we'll
watch it. The problem is a lot of basketball fans in this country have just the way the media works is that when you have the basketball you love the most so available to you, you tend to just go into the one lane and we just watch college basketball. When we were growing up, we would watch everything. We'd watch the NBA, college, and you just notice that like it becomes fragmented. So to your point, Andy, I think anything you can do to make women's basketball not feel like it's competing against men's basketball as much as it's
let's be on the same team. Yeah.
Well, that's what they do with the WNBA.
Right. Yeah.
The WNBA is got its own windows, and from a business model perspective, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put it directly in competition with the men. Now, they use a lot of the same arenas, so that wouldn't make sense either. But, as an experiment, I'm just saying, I'm not saying permanent. As an experiment, this would have been the year to do it. Go longer. I mean, there were a lot of men's coaches that wanted to go into April or May.
Yeah, Rick Pitino.
Right. I mean, I think if there was ever a time to try it, this would have been the year to push it. And I actually would have done it not in Texas. I would have done it in Indianapolis. You would have already had the blueprint.
Yep.
Just say, you know what? Men's is over. We're going to use the same facilities, same giant convention center, same weight room, same hotels. Let's just do it right after.
Well, Andy, when you're sitting at the big boy desk with Chuck and Kenny and Ernie, and you're thinking about how great your life is, just remember that they won't give you this platform that we just did. Just remember that. Like they're
going to ask you why Oral Roberts is winning games, and you're going to say Ace-Miss.
Don't forget about us.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. I know we got to run, but did you agree with Charles's point that in the two games that Oral Roberts played against Ohio State, this is sensitive for you, Mark, and Florida, he said in those two games, on those 2 days, that Max Ace-Miss, can I buy a B, Max Ace-Miss, and Kevin O'Banner were the two best players on the floor?
I mean, in the games, yeah. They in those games, yes. I think if you replay those games, no. I mean, E.J. Liddell played pretty well for Ohio State, I felt like. I think it's easy to say because you lose, like you didn't play well. But, yeah, I mean, I would agree that we said they're the best NBA Jam team we've ever seen, those two guys. That if you're playing a video game, like I want to play with Oral Roberts.
Yep.
And, I think they got a shot against Arkansas. I think at this point in time, like you look at the way they're playing, if they play decent enough defense, they can beat anybody.
And O'Banner shocks people. I feel like you get distracted by Ace-Miss and you realize, like, throughout the game, you're like, oh, this other guy's killing me, maybe even more than Ace-Miss. So that was the hard part in the first game with Ohio State, I felt like.
Andy,
did you know how to spell his name?
Yes.
A-B-A-M-A-S. Yeah.
I love that line. I asked Charles, I said, how do you spell Max Ace-Miss? And he goes, M-A-X.
M-A-X. That's great.
Awesome.
Andy, you're the best. We appreciate it. Take care of the Mickey Mouse tournament for us.
Thanks, Andy.
It's easy for you to not call it a Mickey Mouse.
Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me.
We will not. Don't forget about us, Andy.
Yes.
We love you.
We'll be watching.
Take it easy.
Hey there, thanks for watching Titus and Tate. For the full friend of the program experience, subscribe right below and come join us for all things college basketball. The action is heating up. Come join Titus and Tate.